What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to a model airplane review. It's your host, Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the Gemini 200 Delta Airlines Airbus A319 in 1:200 scale. In this video, I'll talk about the box, then the model itself, and at the end of the video, I'll give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. That being said, here we go. Starting off with the box is the standard issue Gemini 200 narrow body box. However, instead of the gold text and outlines, this one has the silver text and outlines. And this is a change that was introduced this year in 2023. As you can see, this is the Gemini Jet's 25th anniversary right up here on the top of the box. So I guess they did that to, I don't know, say that their models have a silver lining. 9 times out of 10 they don't, but it is a nice change of pace. So the box is 23 centimeters lengthwise and height-wise and 8 centimeters wide. I'll show you around the box now. So here's the front, bottom, right side, top, left side, and the back side. Take a moment to read this if you'd like to, and if you can, that looks excessively hard to read. So something I'd like to talk about in the box. You may have noticed that the brad fastener that is usually in the center of the box here is gone. And because the reason for this is that Gemini appears to have switched to a magnetic attachment. So this is completely secured by magnets, which is really cool. That is a feature that I definitely like, since it makes storing these things and closing the boxes that much easier. Included in the box is the model fully assembled, painted, and ready to go. Before I begin my review, I'm going to give you a quick 360 of the model. The fuselage length for this model is 17 centimeters, wingspan is 17.5 centimeters, and it's 7 centimeters tall. Accurate to 1:200 scale and decently sized for a model. It's also pretty heavy because it's made primarily out of die-cast metal, either primarily or entirely. Sometimes Gemini switches it up with plastic and die-cast combinations. You can also see this one's a little bit tail heavy, however it still sits comfortably on its nose gear. Starting off the review at the front of the fuselage, here we've got the nose section. Nose shape on the aircraft looks pretty solid. This is quite nice to see because I know the A321 mold from Gemini isn't exactly the best, the 1:200 scale one, in terms of nose shape, but the A319 one is. And it seems as though cockpit window printing is mostly aligned. There's just something a little iffy about it. This front section here might be a little bit too high, but aside from that, it looks pretty solid. It might also be tilted. We'll evaluate that later in the video, but nose shape overall is pretty good. There is plenty of printed detail up here, all of which looks pretty good. I'm going to start moving down the fuselage. Yeah, everything looks pretty solid so far. Very good start to the review, no complaints. And yeah, pretty solid start. Here's the vertical stabilizer. It's got the Delta title there, and the rudder detail looks pretty good. Not too much printed detail, but shape looks good, molded detail looks good, painted and printed detail looks good, no complaints. Here's the right side. It's virtually the same as the left side, and everything that can be said about the left side can also be said about the right side. And if my camera would focus, that would be just great. Moving on to the wings. The wings are extensively detailed with a lot of painted, printed, and molded detail. Molded detail in the form of control surfaces, which are all clearly defined, and I don't see any paint filling anything up too much, so very good job on that. Painted detail with the different shades of gray on the control surfaces and the wing itself. Very good. Printed detail also seems to be very consistent. No complaints at all. The wing seam looks very good. Really solid job so far. I'm surprised. Here's the fence tip. Appears to be bent ever so slightly outwards, but it's negligible, so just disregard that. The fence tip looks pretty good, very nicely shaped. Something seems different about this one. I do remember seeing that the fence tips used to be a little bit larger, that or I'm tripping, but regardless, the shape is great. Nice and sharp here on the edge too. And that little white spot you see, that's just reflection. That's not a paint issue. Bottom of the wing, here it is. Not too much to see down here. Here's the right one, by the way. Very consistent with the shape. Right wing looks pretty good as well. No complaints. Very solid job. Here's the rear section of the fuselage. Horizontal stabilizers look pretty good. Molded detail is very nicely defined, clearly defined as well. No complaints. Printed detail looks good. Here's the bottom section. Bottom looks pretty good. Okay, I thought I saw something suspicious. I thought the seam here was a little bit off, but it's really not. Bottom looks good. Detail looks good. Yeah, no complaints at all so far. APU is good as per usual. It doesn't really have a hole for the exhaust, but it does have a little thing back here to simulate the APU, so all good back here. Now for the engines. I am impressed by these engines. These engines have surpassed my expectations for any manufacturer, by the way. The printed detail on the outside of these engines is fantastic. It's got the reverse thruster, the reverse thrust things. Sorry, it's been a long time. Yeah, it's got those. Got some lines here too. Looks pretty good. The exhaust looks good. The pylon looks good. Very, very nicely done on the engines. Here's what the bottom side looks like too. Very nicely detailed. And there's a reason I've been saving the fans for last. Alright, sorry for all the pauses. It's just I'm coughing a lot. My throat is still shut up because I've been sick for the past 3 weeks. But yeah, this is what the fans look like. Pretty run-of-the-mill. The spinner spirals appear to be perfectly centered, but they spin? They spin! I have not seen this on a 1 to 200 scale Gemini jets, Airbus narrowbody since the first one I got. I have not seen this in a while. I don't remember seeing this. And they spin smoothly too. So that is very good to see. That I'm very happy with that. The right one is a bit stiff, but it still spins as well. So I'm a sucker for fan details, and this definitely got me. Very good. Right from here, we'll move on to aerial details. So this model features antennas, Wi-Fi domes, and 3D lights, or sat domes, I should say. We've got 2 large antennas, one here and here, a 3D light up here, and the sat dome here. I'd like to talk about the sat dome here. The join between the sat dome and the fuselage is not there. There is no noticeable. There's no noticeable gaps. Maybe here on the right side, but even then, the gap is almost negligible. This is definitely a step up in performance from Gemini, since recently their sat domes haven't been the best, but this one is really good. Here's the bottom of the aircraft. We've got a 3D light right here, right in the D for the Delta logo, and we've also got a large antenna back here, and a small one that I didn't notice till now. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. All these antennas are pretty good. They're all attached relatively nicely and aligned. There's also a small antenna back here, which is really good too. Yeah, alignment is really solid with all these antennas and the sat domes. Very impressive. Very impressive. Now, moving on straight to the landing gear. The landing gear on this model are permanently extended. They are not interchangeable. The main gears, they do roll with a bit of stiffness, but they're okay. They're not the best. They're not the worst. And they are pretty nicely detailed. I will say that. And they're sturdy. They hold the model up and they do the job. The nose gear is also pretty nice. It pivots and it rotates within a very limited range on this model, but it does pivot. And the wheels on the nose gear do roll very nicely. Alright, I don't believe what I'm looking at. I'm going to let you guys take the floor with this one. Just kidding. No, I'm not that lazy. Everything up here looks perfect. Wing flex, good. Engine clearance, good. Gear balance, good. Cockpit window printing, perfectly symmetrical. Vertical stabilizer alignment, perfectly straight up. I have nothing to complain about here. This is just very good. And with that comes a very quick end to my review. Now, before I give my personal opinion and recommendation, I would like to talk about the display stand that I definitely didn't forget earlier. The display stand included on this model is awful. If you want to display it on a display stand, buy a different display stand, because if you display it on the stand that's included in this model, it's going to fall over. It's just simply too small and too structurally unstable to support this model without risking great damage to it. So get a new stand and, yeah, don't run that risk. Now, for my personal opinion and recommendation, this model is simply perfect. I did not point out any defects whatsoever. It's incredibly detailed, and it's damn near perfect. I was thoroughly impressed with the quality in this model, especially coming from Gemini and their recent track record. So, very good job on Gemini for this one. I'm very proud of them. They did a really good job on this model, and they deserve every bit of credit they get for this one. So, that being said, I absolutely recommend this model to any collector who wants one. It's beautiful. The quality is perfect on my piece. The fans, they spin. That's the thing that got me. And, yeah, I definitely recommend this one. This would be a great addition to any collector to any collection. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more airplane content. Like, comment, and subscribe. Catch you next time. See you later.